Hey guys, how's it going? Onage here, and welcome to round 3 of the F1 2016 career mode on the channel. Here's a look at the R&D screen. We are currently looking at the downforce and drag upgrades which we have done. Then we get also the voicemail, of course, with the qualifying goals. There we see them qualify 15th or higher. So far, before qualifying, I had a successful weekend. However, with Sochi being basically knocking on the door, I wanted to invest in an engine upgrade.
We'd like to welcome you from wherever in the world you join us today for this F1 qualifying session here in Shanghai, China. I was looking at some highlights of previous races here, and the one thing that really stood out to me was the run down to turn 1. It's not an easy one to navigate as everyone is scrapping to get into there first.
It's the scene of many incidents as drivers jostle for position. You have to make a choice between going for it and self-preservation. There's no point in going in hot if you don't come out intact the other side. Even if you're at the front, you will be worrying about the guys behind you.
Yeah, coming back then on upgrading the engine for Sochi round 4. I think I said it in the first round as well. I wanted to work on the car, not through engine just yet. I wanted to, like I did, use the downforce upgrade and the drag upgrade, which were the two where we invested in, but not yet in the engine upgrade, so to say. I wanted to do that for Sochi, so well, there we go. That's why I did it now. Sochi is quite a power track, same for China to be honest, but I don't know, I felt like investing in the first engine upgrade only for Sochi, so that's there is that. I did feel very confident for this weekend so far, as we just started our Q1 lap. The practice sessions went quite well. I managed to achieve all objectives. I think all R&D programs were in fact perfect, so we gained maximum resource points, I guess. That was the first time. I never had it before, because usually I would fail the tire wear test or something like that, but for this one it was quite fine and quite nice. So this could well be our best weekend so far. Developing the engine nicely. We're bringing a second upgrade, which was the downforce upgrade to this track, and for round 2 we had the reduced drag upgrade. So it looks like it's working well for us so far, and that is good news. And because of that, I expect as well to get through to Q2 without too many issues. I mean, of course, we are in the Renault and we have to push straight away from the beginning basically, but yeah, I don't think it will be a problem. Bit of a scruffy lap a little bit, at least at the beginning of the third sector, but it doesn't look necessarily slow. It is aggressive but quick, I guess. Then this very long straight, obviously. Braking just before the 100 meter board, down to second. Not using first gear here, I'm staying in second to get a better exit, stay lower in the revs, hopefully get a bit less wheel spin. Then the final corner, very nice corner it is, but be careful that you don't extend it. And up to P9, so quite positive. See where we end up in the end of that qualifying, but I assume it's good enough for Q2. It is indeed P10 even, so behind Grosjean and even in front of both McLaren Honda cars, so not too bad. Worth mentioning though is that Bottas was on the soft tire, so effectively I guess we would have been in 11th. Our teammate in P18 though, he hasn't had such a successful quali. What lap time did he set? I think it was a 1:38.0. But I'm not entirely sure. It may have been. However, not too important. The fact is that he is out of Q1 already. We have gone through to Q2. The good news is though that we were in P9 there, probably, you know, effectively P10 like I said. But that opens up a bit of perspective, you know, because perhaps you can, or we can put ourselves up in the top 10 here, and that would be amazing, of course, to get into Q3 after 3 rounds in the season. Bit of a scruffy opening corner here on our first Q2 lap. I am not entirely sure, but I think I used only one super soft set in Q2, which means we are having a fresh set for Q1, which means we are having a fresh set for Q2. Excuse me there. 26.7 at the end of the first sector. Not a great first sector at all. I definitely messed up the first corner quite a bit, turning in too early, then having to back out of it. Then this middle sector here, very flowing sector obviously. Very important to stick to the apexes, as you have very long sweeping corners. Here is a double apex, you hit it right there. Make sure that you don't fully go over it and put too much power on, because when you do that it can sometimes kick out the rear on exit. Then this, yeah, it's a section which is really tough, opening of the third sector. Very tough to put the power down, very cambered corner, very banked. But a very important corner as well, especially the exit. Always focus on the exit there, because it leads to this massive straight. You're seeing speeds here of about 350 over that kph. That brake very late here, a little bit of a luck up as it brake quite late for the hairpin. No problems though whatsoever. And then one more corner to go. Seems like we've had a decent lap. Is it enough though to get into Q2? Is the question. Here is wide open for the short run to the line, and so far we have put ourselves up in P7. And is that the end of qualifying? It is. It was right at the end of qualifying where we put ourselves up into P7. And that's a fantastic result, to be honest. Comfortably into Q3. Ricciardo in the end on soft. Raikkonen didn't even make it while he was on soft. So a wrong judgment by Ferrari, I guess. However, I don't care. We are in Q3. And I basically was gonna do one run here on the fresh set, which was assigned to us because we were able to reach Q3. Obviously we'll be starting on the soft tire for the race, super soft of course, but one more run here on the super soft tire, and this needs to be special. It's Q3, you have to give it your all. We know that we can improve, especially in the first sector. Last time round we did a 26.7 over here. Let's see what we can do this time. Much better this time through the first corner. Very sweeping of course, and then this is the section where you want to focus on the exit. Short shift up to third, there we go. Up to fourth, up to fifth, and up to sixth, putting down the power very nicely there. Make use of the whole track. Pick your braking marker, 100 me, down to second gear once again. 26.5 now in the first sector, so straight away about 2 tenths, a little bit less than that faster in the first sector. Not bad at all. This is looking like a good lap so far. Middle sector then, also very important, like I said, keeping it in sixth gear. And then lining yourselves up for this long right-hander. I make a bit of a mistake, to be honest, over here, because I was out of shape on the exit of the left-hander. Couldn't open up the right-hander because of that, but this is looking really good. Very stable and good exit so far. Out of the last corner, the previous corner, 55.5. And the end of the second sector, bit of a slide there, but honestly that is good, because I was very hard on the power. A little bit of a slide, wasn't too bad, I didn't really cost us a lot. Then we open up the DRS of course. So once again we'll be seeing speeds over 350 kilometers an hour. This is so important. Now prick your braking marker, let's listen to the engine. Going down the gears, a little bit of a luck up coming into the hairpin as well, but nicely hitting the curb, hard on the power again, and one more corner to go. Then just break after the shadows of the board hanging over the circuit, hard on the power again. Fantastic final corner. This is a good lap, a brilliant lap in fact. A 36.4 I think it was. It is P7, so just like in Q2. But honestly, I had a little bit of a fist bump after that lap, because that was one of the better laps I have done, yeah, in the whole F1 series, I think even.
Max Verstappen. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
I think P7 was the absolute maximum there. Massa was a further 2 tenths ahead of us. We put ourselves right in between those Williams guys, but honestly that Q3 lap was a fantastic lap, I have to say. I made a mistake though. I mean, perfect laps are hard to get, aren't they? I made a mistake in the middle sector, definitely, taking the wrong line through the long left-hander, and because of that got a bit compromised for the right-hander.
Hey, how are you? I have some information on the race goals you should keep in mind.
Well, then we have the race goals, of course. Finish in 12th place or higher and beat our teammate. We know that our teammate starts in P18, so I don't think there will be any issues there.
Hard work, ingenuity and ambition. All things you'll find in abundance amongst the 15 million people of Shanghai over there to our southeast. And we've got plenty of that here on the grid as well. 20,000 horsepower, give or take, chomping at the bit to be unleashed for the Chinese Grand Prix.
This is a really good starting position for us. Let's try not to lose it.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Nico Rosberg will start his silver arrow from pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel and Massa, a Renault, Bottas, Kvyat and Carlos Sainz, Raikkonen, Hülkenberg, Sergio Perez and Palmer, Ericsson, Nasser, Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button, Wehrlein and Harry Anto, Romain Grosjean and Esteban Gutierrez completes the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Looking at the strategy window over here, immediately notice the session forecast here, guys. Towards the end there is some rain predicted, and it is something which I spotted and which I knew as well, so I wasn't really that interested in figuring out the perfect strategy by then, because I know it was gonna rain anyway. We'll see how the race develops and judge it from there onwards. Lights are out and away we go. P7 it is, and a very good start indeed. The Ferrari ahead of us had a really poor start. We were alongside the Williams of Felipe Massa. Already gained the position, of course. There's a Ferrari which is shooting up our outside, but that is not a problem. We stay ahead of him. Can we take the Williams here as well? We have the inside live next corner. A bit of contact made, to be honest. I felt like I left enough space on the apex of that corner. Is it turn 3 or turn 2? I don't even know. But apparently, yeah, I might not have left enough space because there was some contact. Diving on the inside here of Ricciardo, which is something which I didn't really want to do. But he braked so early that, yeah, I basically braked at my normal brake point, so to say. He brakes about 20-25 meters earlier than that, and then, you know, before you know it, you're already alongside. So we gained another position there. I'm not gonna complain. Up to P4, Ricciardo is on soft as well, so keep an eye out on that. And the top 3 is currently pulling away. But a good start from P7 up to P4. The initial launch of the grid was fantastic, honestly. One of the better starts we have had so far in overgrowth of this career mode, of course. Having said that, we have only had 2 stars, obviously. Down the straight we go for the first time out of 28 times, and the tires are already quite worn, to be honest. That's the disadvantage of qualifying in Q2 and going to Q3, because you cannot start on the fresh set of tires, of course. Big scrap going on ahead of us, behind one Red Bull, presumably Verstappen then, and the 2 Mercedes guys, the Mercedes boys rather. Hamilton in 3rd, Rosberg 2nd, Verstappen leading the race then, as Ricciardo is behind us on the soft tire. We are on the super soft, and immediately I am basically talking to the engineer here what is going to happen with the weather. There is some rain predicted towards the end, like I said before, so we have to keep an eye out on that, and also keep an eye out on Ricciardo, who's on the soft tire and currently keeping up with us quite nicely. Let's keep an eye out on the gap to Hamilton. Get a benchmark over here, 1.5 it is right now. Ricciardo only 2 tenths behind us. You can see the teammate dot on the minimap, so to say, the lightly colored dot. It's our teammate. I think he has had a reasonable start as well, to be honest, because it doesn't really look like P18 where he is at the moment. That's probably P12, 14 perhaps, max, I don't know. Something like that maybe. So it's looking good so far. Immediately there's some talks about changing the strategy. I really wasn't sure what to do yet. It does look like we'll make an early pit stop because these super soft tires aren't performing quite the way I want them to do. Rosberg ahead of us is on the soft tire as well, but has already gained about 3 seconds on us. So that is something quite bad, of course, after 3 laps being already 3 seconds down on the top 3, and Ricciardo behind putting a lot of pressure. See what he can do. He will have DRS, which has been enabled this lap then, but the top speed in the Renault isn't that great in that Renault engine. Or Tag Heuer is it? Is it Tag Heuer, right? Yeah, I think it is. That's what you get when you don't follow F1 too much anymore. Too often, I should say. Diving into the pit lane though. And here we go. So first stop of the day already in lap 3. That is early indeed. But I think it's possible as well to do an early pit stop, because you should count the race, you should divide the race in laps, and in this case you should say to yourself the first 20 laps will be dry, and the last 8 laps or something will be spent on the intermediate or full wet tire, you know. So it's basically a 20 lap race you're looking at right now in terms of strategy for the slick tire, and in that case perhaps we can do 16 laps on the soft. That would be quite an achievement perhaps, but maybe it's possible. We're right behind Hamilton right now, who's on the super soft, so he's gone for another set of super softs, which is quite interesting to see. Obviously just exited the pit lane. Hamilton got held up massively in the pit lane, by the way. That's why we're right on his gearbox, and I basically knew right now if I don't stick with Hamilton, it's gonna be over. You know, he's just gonna fly off into the distance with that Mercedes car and the super soft tires, and immediately I can see right now, I can judge right now that I'm not quick enough to stick with him, and he's just gonna fly away, you know. Basically remembering that I was right on his gearbox at the end of sector 1, and seeing now the gap being 1.5 seconds, that's obviously huge. That's gone from like 0.3 to 1.5 seconds in the space of a sector, and that is very much indeed. Vettel behind too, he has pitted as well, super soft tire for him, just like Hamilton. Verstappen is on the soft tire too, so those guys will most likely stay out for a little bit longer. Slowing it down for the hairpin here, nicely hitting the apex. You can take a little bit of a different line through there as well than what I did. I was quite early on the apex, which means that you usually have a worse exit because you cannot straighten up the car earlier, whereas if you go for a bit of a later apex, you turn in later, you can get earlier on the power and the car will be more stable. As Vettel has dived up on the inside of us, he has got the grip on that super soft tire. We are able to perform a switchback though, a cutback, and we stay out of him. That's the nature of that first corner. If you go for the inside there's a chance you are going to run a little bit deep, a little bit wide, and because of the nature of the corner, going right for a very long time, putting a lot of stress on the front left tire, sorry, you can perform a cutback. Skipping to lap 5 then, Vettel still applying quite a bit of pressure behind us. We will have the DRS as well. I think he may get by here. Remember, we could defend from the Red Bull, but we're now defending against Ferrari power, so that may be a little bit more tricky. Here comes Vettel though on our outside, on our inside. What's he going to do? Well, he's going to give us a bump, just like we have seen in Bahrain. Vettel gives us a nudge there, and both Williams guys, who I passed at the start, obviously at least I passed Massa, are flying by straight away again, and it's very frustrating to see that. Obviously it already happened in Bahrain, where we mainly had issues with Ricciardo nudging us off the track. It happens again with Vettel this time though, and I honestly don't see what else I could have done. I made, you know, my intentions were clear way before the corner that I was going to defend the inside line there, and it first looked like Vettel was going to make a move to the outside, and then he slowed down again and started to move back in our slipstream, and I don't know, just a huge mess there with the AI, to be honest. But okay, you know, sometimes you have to treat it like a real race as well. I mean, how many times in real Formula 1 do we see drivers messing up as well? You know, it can happen. So let's treat it like that. Let's treat it professionally and move on with the race, because we definitely have a few prospects here. Look ahead, a big train with cars. Some cars yet to pit, some cars we're actually fighting with. For example, we see Massa ahead overtaking Vettel, and actually Vettel is like wheel banging with Massa, being like, bro, I don't take that. I'm not having any of that, I should say. Look at this, a really big battle. So teammate is gone into the pit lane then. A few cars from this train entering the pits, and there's contact between the Williams guys. And we DNF Bottas out of the race, basically, who was parked on the middle of the circuit there. Yeah, could I have done anything different? It's always easy to say that with benefit of hindsight, that I should have slowed down more, but no. I didn't fully expect him to be on the inside there. So Bottas is out of the race because he, his wheel basically came flying off, and we ourselves have got some front wing damage, excuse me. Not suspension damage, of course. So that basically throws immediately a one stop out of the window. Not like it was looking that it was going to happen. And with a one stop I mean to lap 20, so to say, until the rain comes down. So definitely we'll be doing 2 stops before the rain falls. And it's just a bit unlucky, I guess, with what happened with Bottas. Firstly with Vettel, of course, and then it happens with Bottas as well. End of lap 10 here, behind Gutierrez, behind the Haas. Yellow flag ahead. You can see on the minimap that this section here is yellow. You can also see on the minimap there's a dot going really slowly. He's actually right in front of Gutierrez right now. He parks his car on the apex. It's a Toro Rosso, and he just absolutely parks it like, oh my man. And then I get an illegal overtake. I was a bit confused myself there whether I seriously had to give that position back, but luckily it disappeared and it didn't give me a penalty. But man, what is going on with the AI here? Lap 11, a very chaotic race. Somehow we are up into P6. I mean, despite all of those things happening, you just have to do the best you can as we run deep into turn 1. Not having optimal downforce, of course, because of the damage to the front wing. But, you know, I didn't really feel like going into the pit lane and trying to repair it. I felt like I was able to keep on going with somewhat decent pace. I mean, it's clear that the top 5, Button has DNF as well. It's clear that the top 5 here has pulled away from us. It's as simple as that. But you never know, you know. We know that rain is coming as well. Rain is on its way, even though it's a bit unlikely when you look at the skies right now. Really bright blue skies, so not really seeing any cloud, but apparently there is some rain predicted. And again, there is a strategy. See, I don't get this. What is different about this strategy here? It both says a free stop and it both says soft tire. Okay, well, whatever. We'll come into the pit lane. And of course it will repair the front wing as well. Look at the Hulkenberg, who's a bit of our rival in this race. He has just gone by and he closed the gap a little bit while he was behind us. So also considering we are going to do a front wing change over here, it may be close with Hulkenberg when he is going to pit. Obviously a very long pit stop, 7.3 seconds, 5 seconds slower than usual. So the qualifying was so good and it looked so sunny to get a good result in this race, but yeah, I guess it is just not our race. There are some issues we have been thrown up with. Firstly with Vettel, then with Bottas. The Toro also parking right on the apex, so it's not all going quite smooth. But at least right now we have got our front wing again without any damage, and we are on the medium tire. I decided to go onto the medium. I don't really know if we would have been able to make it on the soft to approximately lap 20 when the rain is going to fall, but honestly the sky looked so clear as well that I just couldn't believe it was going to rain in lap 20 or 22 or something like that. You know, I was like, maybe it'll rain in lap 25, and we have another incident up ahead, and again we damaged the front wing, very similar as to what happened with Bottas. And funnily enough, I said before, Hulkenberg was a bit of our rival. It was actually Hulkenberg who spun in front of us after making contact with Nasser, and again I feel like maybe I could have avoided it by going around his outside, but it's easy to say that, I guess, with benefit of hindsight as well, like I said before. So yeah, you have to respond quickly when there's a car right on your path, and you can't hesitate, because if you hesitate you waste time, and you need that time to make a move and avoid the car. And exactly what happened there with Hulkenberg. I hesitated because I wanted to go to the inside because I thought he would fly to the outside, but then he suddenly stopped right in the middle of the track, and basically the inside wouldn't work anymore. So then I wanted to go to the outside, but by that, by then the time was already lost. Okay, well, we're gonna have to drive again with without a front wing end plate being on the right hand side of the front wing. And now the engineer is saying light rain within 5 minutes time, so I was again having doubts about pitting and repairing the front wing, but because apparently, you know, it's 5 minutes until the rain falls, I decided to stay out. Hamilton is right behind us, no clue how Hamilton has ended up behind us. Maybe he hasn't had a smooth race himself or neither. But, you know, 5 minutes, some rain, you know, how? I mean, yes, there are a few clouds right now appearing, but it doesn't look at all like it is going to rain, or is it me? I don't know. Here comes Hamilton, by the way, on the inside, beginning of sector 3. I leave space for him on the apex. He will have the DRS. We just crossed the DRS detection point, so I don't know really if it's smart to defend from Hamilton here. He's got the faster car for sure. I mean, I'll try to stay ahead of him, but I don't want to do any silly things either. Sorry. Here he opens up the DRS, gains the speed advantage. I'm a bit worried that he is also going to give me a shot just like Vettel did. Luckily he doesn't do that. He goes on the outside here. I have the inside line. He'll have a better exit perhaps because he's on the outside. Yes, he does indeed. We're still side by side entering the final corner. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go side by side into the final corner. So I back out of it. We have a yellow flag. There's a car stationary on the track. And Hamilton, okay, he goes just straight through it. Whatever. I think it was Perez being stationary on the track. I'll have a look on the inside of Hamilton there, trying to get by again, but I couldn't do it. Into turn 1, then still on the inside. The nature of the corner though means that this corner is going to tighten up, so I cannot just, you know, park it on the inside. He's going to turn in on me, so I had to press the brakes slightly there in order to avoid contact. But man, oh man, as I said, I didn't really dare it to go side by side through the final corner. Probably it would have ended in tears. And again, there is some carnage going on here with Hamilton, and the car just going so slowly, almost parking it on the apex. A few raindrops are falling right now as well, so that lap 20, which I said before, does seem to be right, as huge clouds have now covered the circuit. On the right hand side in particular, you can see it right now. So what a race this is folding to be. And yeah, the gap to Hamilton is now right about a second. With 8 more laps to go and some rain falling, we are still driving without a front wing end plate. I mean, I just wanted the rain to come as soon as possible, because then we can pit as soon as possible and repair the damage. Coming back though, I didn't dare to go side by side with Hamilton through the final corner. Wanted to do a little bit of a cutback, but then Hamilton brilliantly covered off the inside, so I couldn't really perform the cutback successfully. Then I saw in the distance a car being parked right on the start-finish line, and I thought, oh no, this is going to go horribly wrong, because Hamilton was driving straight at him. But he ghosted, I guess, and Hamilton just went straight through it. Makes sense, I guess, you know. Pit lane though, this is the third time we're in the pit lane. This time though, we are not going to fit another set of slicks. We are going to fit the intermediate tire, and it is such a shame that we have had the issues with the front wing. It's definitely going to cost us a good 10 seconds in total, just by changing the front wing twice. Let's say twice 5 seconds makes up for 10. It's even 12 seconds, because this pit stop is 9.5, so that is 7 seconds slower than usual. It's a shame, you know, because perhaps we could have battled with Hamilton here in the final stint, but I don't see that one happening. And this is then my very first experience in the rain. Believe it or not, I didn't do any rain driving up to this point. So, you know, I was interested to see what it would be like. I was going to take a very cautious approach, short shift a lot, and see if we have got some decent pace. So we have rejoined in P7. Somehow Ericsson is having the race of his life in P8. I know that Grosjean is having the race of his life as well, because he is, I think, in the top 5, but considering he is in the Haas, he may drop down a bit as well. You know, I mean, he's not the quickest car, but to be fair, yeah, I think we are settled for P7. There's a huge gap to Hamilton, 9.1 seconds. I don't see us closing that gap down against the Mercedes driver. Luckily, the final couple of laps here, the last couple of laps, haven't been as hectic as the opening stages of this race, which started quite well for us. I remember being in P4, and then some chaos unfolded. I said it before, we started with that nudge which Vettel gave. It's a little bit weird, the AI behavior in that sense, because basically after it happens, you are so paranoid of braking. You want to be so late on the brakes, because if you brake early, the car behind you is just going to ram you in the back, and that's why you want to brake a little bit later, and that can obviously cause yourself to push yourself too much and brake too late, and then overshoot the corner. 8.9 to Hamilton though, so gained 2 tenths after sector 2 in this last lap, which is good. Again, first experience in the rain, and we're not doing too bad, I guess. Here's when I short shift. Listen, there's a short shift, there's a short shift, and then you can finally start to use up the revs a little bit. I mean, short shifting is so useful, especially in the rain. Why would you not do it? Missing the apex here. I mean, in real F1 that is possibly a line which you want to take in the wet, but not in the game. Because basically in real F1 you don't always want to be on the racing line when it's wet. There's a lot of rubber on the racing line, which gets very slippery when there is some rain falling on it. That's why it's sometimes a wiser choice to go on the outside of, or at least avoid a racing line. But none of that in this game, I don't think. 8.8 now to Hamilton, so still gaining a bit of time. The pace is quite decent, has to be said, but the damage has already been done. You know, how are we going to make up 8.8 seconds? I don't know.
There's 5 laps of fuel remaining. Sorry, we can't provide you with that information.
No, I wanted to have another weather report there, but
We don't have the data for that.
we don't have the data for that, I'm afraid. Okay. That is great. Maybe the Renault team has a power cut and cannot see the radar anymore. I don't know. We will just keep on driving. Again, a little short shift there again, and then you start using the revs. It's a little bit instinctive as well, by the way, to use less revs in the race. It saves a little bit of fuel, I guess. Whereas in qualifying you're obviously using the full revs and full power fuel mixture up to the max. Whereas in the race it's more about conserving a bit of fuel here and there. So it's not a shame to not use all of the revs in the race. Skipping to the end of lap 25. Apparently the radar image for the team is back up again, and there's some more heavy rain predicted. However, with 3 more laps to go, starting now, yeah, there is no use switching to the full wet tire. What has happened in the meantime though is Grosjean dropping like a stone and being overtaken by Hamilton. So perhaps there is a little bit of encouragement of getting a P6 here. But 3 more laps to go, 4.6 seconds. You know, we have to gain more than a second obviously per lap. But who knows? Grosjean is quite slow, to be honest, because Hamilton has overtaken him and has gone into the distance quite a bit as well. We had a gap of 8.8 seconds to Hamilton, I believe. And the gap to Grosjean is now 3.6. So what is it? Was it 4.3 at the start of the lap? 8 tenths in one sector, in the first sector. That's quite insane. It's looking good, to be honest. Trying to get P6 here. I have no idea, by the way, how Grosjean got in P6 in the first place anyway. It's a very good position obviously for a Haas. But to be honest, Bottas DNF too, so it makes a bit of sense, I guess. Lots of drivers having some collisions. Hulkenberg, for example, too, with Nasser. We all saw that. 3.1 out of Grosjean. It's a little bit of a hunt. Hulkenberg is 43 seconds behind. That shows how crazy this race has been, to be honest. 43 seconds to between P7 and P8. That's a big margin. So let's watch the driving here. Listen again, short shifting most likely. Not really doing it there. A little bit from third to fourth. Bit of wheel spin in second. And visually the gap is coming down. What is it now? 2 seconds. I think we gained 2.3 in this lap, in the last lap. So it seems like Grosjean is a sitting duck. And we can pass him. Yeah, definitely. I don't know where the lack of pace is coming from here from Grosjean. He's very slow. Again, missing the apex here, going a bit deep. It's okay though. Right now within striking distance of Grosjean. Then the question is as well, where are you going to do it? It's not really that much of a question in this case, because we're basically 2 seconds a lap faster than than Grosjean, so there definitely should be a point where we can overtake him. Bit of oversteer there as you're trying to put the power down in these wet conditions. No, you have to know as well that there was some heavy rain predicted, so this may as well be heavy rain, and we are driving on the intermediate tire. However, it may be raining heavily right now, but obviously it takes a little bit of time for the track to be adjusted with the standing water as well being active on track, so to say. Right on the gearbox of Grosjean here as I have a little off-track excursion. Slowed me down for the straight. Trying to be a little bit too greedy, I guess, with the power. That's fine. We'll take the escape route and take the long way home and play it a bit safe, I should say. Good exit here compared to Grosjean. And I think we're lining ourselves up here for P6, aren't we? One more corner to go, and then we have the white flag. Last lap of the race. We should be able to get P6. Can we do it in turn 1 here? Up into rich mixture, having a look on the inside, but nope. That's not gonna happen. Around the outside then. That's not gonna happen because that door is going to close. That space is going to close. Which it did indeed. Over here. Nope. Different line then. Try to get a better exit. Straighten up the car here. Then you need to short shift up to third. Up to fourth short shift. There we go. And then put the power down. Bit of a different line. Trying to get a better exit here. In order to move ourselves up for a good overtaking position into turn, what is it, 5-6, and it is indeed a successful move. So taking a bit of a different line there. Yeah, I think it was the wrong line, to be honest. I wanted to try something different and get a better exit, but I don't think we would have gotten a much worse exit if we just stick to the racing line. Having said that, we would have been in the dirty air of Grosjean a little bit more though. Yeah, I guess no problems there, and we'll see what the gap is to Hamilton. That's quite a good benchmark. We know that Hamilton is in a Mercedes, very quick car. The gap was 8.8 before, and it is now 8.3, so actually we have gained time on Hamilton in this final stint. And that is really good for us to know. It is even better to know that we have also been battling with Grosjean a bit and gained time on Hamilton. We had some great pace, I guess, in these rainy conditions in the final stint. We were quicker than the Mercedes even, but the damage, I said it before, was already done in the earlier parts of the race. And so we have to settle for 6, which is 1 position higher than we qualified, but I felt like maybe it could have been even more, to be honest.
What a superb victory. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
Well, they clearly have a car that comes alive in the kind of conditions we were dealing with today. It's a very balanced package in the wet, and what that means is that the drivers have confidence to attack, and having that confidence gets you on the power earlier, it lets you brake later, and can put you a long way up the road.
Decent race from our teammate too, P13 for him.
Here come the top 3 then, out onto the podium after a fascinating Grand Prix.
Verstappen wins ahead of Rosberg, ahead of Ricciardo. Good weekend for Red Bull then. Not so good for Mercedes, especially not for Hamilton. We saw him finishing in P5. Just a shame as well about those front wing end plates flying off, but that's racing sometimes. That's what's happened. That's what happens. And I guess we got quite lucky as well that we didn't lose our entire front wing in those collisions.
It's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. And now I'd like to ask you, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
It's got to be Romain Grosjean. He was in another league for me today. Really impressive.
On to the constructors then. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. Meanwhile, good work from Force India this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. That's it for today's Grand Prix, and from Ant and I, it's goodbye, and see you again next time.
P6 in the driver standings, not too shabby, and ahead of Force India still as well. Then the rivalry update. After that, I guess good weekend in terms of pace. I mean, the pace was definitely there, but the result wasn't really. It can happen sometimes, you know, maybe a bit of bad luck too. That's racing sometimes. But because we had such a good weekend, yeah, and basically wrecked our teammate, we have won the rivalry as well. So we'll be assigned a new rival for next race, I guess. That will be round 4 Sochi, and as I said, an engine upgrade will be available to us then. Hope to see you then. Thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, I would very much appreciate a like. I hope that you have a nice day and take care. Goodbye.